Oh, yeah. Shout out FootyCast live from BackChat Studios. That's right. Mark Reddings, Will Schofield. My voice, would you believe, is better than it's been in the last 4 days. Skeeter, great to be with you again. I just saw you last night.
Yeah,
and Saturday.
And Saturday night. No, it's just a recurring theme. Got a text actually on radio last night, 6 p.m. I didn't get to read it out, but it's saying, is the FootyCast, the Shelter FootyCast happening this morning? Well, yes, it is. It's a public holiday, but that means absolutely jack to us because we are churning our way through a big day. You with your business,
yes,
and me just running around covering waffle and radio.
Your business. Skeeter, can you just ask, like, my voice is better than what?
No, a lot better. On Saturday night, you came over to my place, and I know you were a little bit miffed that Chad Warner didn't get to 20 disposals, just hoping he'd have a good game for no other reason than you like him. And I just laughed at that. You could hardly speak. But I tried to give you some liquid encouragement to get the larynx good, but you actually well behaved. You
gave yourself some liquid encouragement, I can tell you that right now.
That I agree.
So pretty much, ladies and gentlemen, instead of reviewing the round, I'm just going to review Skeeter's house on a Saturday night. Nah, I wouldn't do it to you.
Oh, no, don't worry. I got a little character assessment the next morning.
Did you?
Yeah,
feedback?
Yeah, a bit of feedback. Perhaps my wife believes that when she said every 10 minutes she's coming up to the bar to get a drink.
Geez, you're criticised heavily. Like if we think about Brad Scott, and we think about
AFL identities,
you know, like guys like Chris Scott and we're talking about Craig McRae, we're talking about Sam
Umpires.
Mitchell and Luke Beveridge. The criticism we give these sorts of guys and the criticism they give their players is nothing that Mark Reddings cops on just a regular Saturday night. You're just trying to enjoy yourself, have a couple of bourbons and cokes, some shelters, some stouts. Yep. Right, and then the rest.
But then, of course, it's a pile-on because once the girls start to gang up and they hear the other one and then they think, righto, let's just kick him while he's down.
At one stage, you just got up and got yourself a drink, didn't get me one, and they went on for 5 minutes about what a bad host you were. You'd asked me, I said, I don't want a drink, and then they'd seen you get one for yourself. Mark, why are you getting yourselves drinks? Well, how dare you? We've got people in our own house.
That continued the following day, and I just... Yeah, anyway, I just knew you didn't... Well, you're two-step... You're very welcome. You know where the house is. You know where the bourbon is. You bought it in yourself.
I bought my own.
Exactly, you bought it. Yeah. So, no, it's an interesting experience, I tell you.
It was very good. It was good. There'll be more to come later in the show. Welcome to the Shelter FootyCast with WA's best footy show and WA's best beer combined to bring you all the biggest footy news from round 12. Skeeter... there's a fair bit going on the show, so if we get a bit all over the place, that's fine. We do have the big prize to award, the WA getaway with nights at the Hilton. We've got shelter dinner. We've got par 3 lunch and beers. We've got beers and beers. We've got the shelter. We got the wine. We've got the chocolate. That will be given away for the best review of the stout. We had them flooding in over the weekend. I've picked a top 4, Skeeter. So I'm going to have you decide because there's a fair bit of feedback for you in the entries as to why shelter makes the footy better, and it's specifically the shelter stout. So we'll do that a little bit later on in the show, Skeeter, if you're happy with that. All right, let's get into some of the big news of the week. I'm just having a look. Isaac, who does a great job of putting this all together. He doesn't have it in here, but my number one from the weekend, right?
I know where you're going with this. Well, I think I do.
Do you?
Oh, I think I do. But I'll let you...
This is one of the more embarrassing things, and the way our game and the way people... so precious and so just protective of words that come out of people's mouths. Like, we've seen some abuse, we've seen some different areas, but to have Wayne Milera apologise publicly for saying the Sydney Swans were a rabble.
He underestimated the fact of being a rabble. That's being kind.
I was about to say, mate, to the Sydney Swans lost by almost 100 points at home and they are a complete rabble. Wayne Milera apologised. The CEO of Adelaide's ringing Tom Harley, the CEO of Sydney, because Wayne Milera on an interview after the game just said what he thought. Just said, I could tell out there the way they were talking amongst themselves that they're a rabble. Does that surprise you they're a rabble out in the field, Ski, by the way they're performing? Like, is it a shock and awe statement? What a joke. What an absolute joke.
And it's not just one club. Is the week before Ross Lyon with tongue-in-cheek, bit of a sly jab at the Gold Coast Nepo babies.
We like it.
It's a bit of theatre. It's fun. And look, Mark Evans carrying on like a pork chop over that. I mean, seriously, if you're going to get bruised by that sort of stuff, and you know what? I think Dean Cox, he would, if you sat him down now, good mate of yours, he'd say, we were a rabble on Saturday night.
Yeah. You and I were a rabble at your house on Saturday night. I can tell you that right now. Okay, Skeet. So there we go. I wanted to start with that because I just thought that was embarrassing.
Yeah, well, I thought you were going to go in a different direction. I just want to say, I thought, and you brought this up, and I followed it up, the Collingwood injury, him speaking to Fox Footy, I thought that was a pure quality and class from a guy that maybe is an example to others in the business that, yeah, you can. In times of everyone can be, when you're winning games and being interviewed, it's easy. It's when you're feeling as flat as a tack that you can get up and have a chat. And I thought, to me, he's already a gun in my eyes as a footballer, but that shows the character of the bloke, I reckon.
Well, it is actually related, Sked, because it's about the preciousness of football clubs. So good on GWS for... They would have been approached by Fox Footy, who were covering that game, and they would have said,
Callan, what do you want to do?
Does Cal want to speak? I don't think... I've never seen a situation, at least, with Fox, and you work with Seven, where nothing's demanded ever of players to do anything, really. It's just ask the question. So he spoke at three-quarter time after he'd addressed the players with Cam Mooney on the sideline. You just don't see that. And I thought it was great access. It was a 45-second conversation. It was incredible by Cal Ward to, do that. But if he can do that after an ACL and his career's finished, why can't we speak to Patrick Cripps at Carlton? I'll say here, why can't we speak to Caleb Sarong halfway through the second quarter for 10 seconds? Or how the stoppage is going in there.
Yeah,
I know you don't think you might not get much out of it, but
no. So I'm not. I'm more talking about. Yeah, I'm not sure fans actually get much out. Even the walk-offs at half time. It's sort of
the walk-offs at half time are nothing. No. But what about if something had happened in quarter?
Oh, it's sort of event related. Yeah, I mean possibly. And I don't think guys like Caleb Sarong. I think the players by and large are. Are reasonably. I think the footy departments, the footy bosses, put the clamps on.
Yeah, and the media departments. I think they're too important, mate.
But the Giants, they've been. I think if we're talking about ratings, they've been number one for some time, particularly social media.
Wonder why?
Yeah,
they open the club up.
There's a necessity for it. I understand that, but they've been great.
Yeah, so the necessity to open themselves up to the public. I mean, shouldn't every club have that? It frustrates them. The longer I'm out of the game, the more I get frustrated.
No, but I'm immune to it.
And I do. Well, the reason I get frustrated is because I wasn't a player that said, no, I'm not speaking to the media.
No, and that's why blokes like you and like Carl Langdon, who would get 4 weeks at the tribunal and most would storm off, he'd come in and say, do you want to talk to me? And you'd speak to him and you go, that's why he'll be good in the media because he's, we remember it.
I don't know if you saw this. Text reveals Sirioli was considering an AFL comeback under Clarkson at North Melbourne only weeks before the racism saga kicked off. Clarko, I don't know how people get these. This is verbatim.
This is going back years.
In quotes. Clarko, how are you going, Junior? Really? Going all right, Clarko? How are you going? Yeah, I'm interested and keen. You must be looking close now to a coaching decision. Hey, Clarko, still waiting for your preference, orange and charcoal or blue and white, North Melbourne or GWS. So this is referring to Cyril Rioli making a comeback and then racism saga. Well,
but this is going back 2 or 3 years ago. Are we talking?
Yeah,
must be.
When all that was happening.
But you're right. How does that emerge? Anyway, it's not happening. Cyril, we saw him up on the Darwin match recently when Hodgie caught up with him.
Yeah, but how does it go from texting all good to we're suing you?
Oh no, that's more pertinent, isn't it? Really.
That would have been, I'll tell you what, there would have been defenders around the country celebrating the fact that, racism stuff aside, that Sirioli didn't come back and play because of how good he was. Had to play near him a couple of times and didn't get anywhere near him. Laura Kane and the AFL and Andrew Dillon have split a few jobs in half. Laura specifically she'll oversee footy operations, which is AFL, AFLW, VFL and VFLW, concussion and mental health management. There's a new position, the new football performance boss, which will cover MRO, umpiring, game analysis, player movement, laws of the game. I might put my hand up for that. Mate, that's my remit. MRO, umpiring, game analysis, player movement, laws of the game. That's a shot of FootyCast. But maybe we can both do it.
Problem is you change you can sway in the breeze at times.
So does the AFL, mate. I'm perfect for the job. That's what they've been doing. That's why Laura's job's been cut in half. They're swaying in the breeze.
I think the two issues have been brought up in all seriousness. The Willie Rioli case, and them not having any background to what he'd done previously with regards to the threats and on. And the other one, there was a second incident which escapes me, which
Bolter.
was the Bolter one. Yeah, that was right. Yeah. So there's been two or three this year that it just feels like they've been tone deaf with, or not really understanding clubland and what the community thinks, what the football public wants. That's Laura Kane. She's inexperienced. Look, to me, the game keeps rolling on. The footy I see is still good enough for me not to get too much caught up in the fact that they're changing around the AFL setup. Does it affect? Do you reckon fans, in all sincerity, do you think they give a rat's about movement at the AFL in terms of who, Laura Kane's going here, Simon Garlick's been approached, Andrew Ireland could come.
No, and we're not going to speak about that, but they care about the state of the game. They care about
what is the state of the game like?
Well, but those items that have been moved out of that and put into a new role, the MRO has been a debacle this year. Umpiring has been shit house.
Has the MRO been a debacle, or the gradings haven't changed?
No, they haven't, but Lloyd Meek escaped suspension for late spoil bump that concussed Patrick Lipinski. I'm happy as. That, again, is an action that shouldn't be suspended. So I feel like I'm personally influencing the AFL.
Oh, for goodness sake. You do have a really good opinion of yourself, don't you?
Well, are you happy or disappointed that that's escaped suspension? You'd be happy with that.
I'm happy. I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
I did see it. I'm not in the night. I saw a replay, but no, I was
drinking bourbon.
I don't just. It's not like a daily occurrence. I occasionally have a hit out. And
Did you have any drinks Friday? Did you have any drinks Saturday?
I had a Chardonnay. Yeah, Friday and Saturday, the only nights I had a drink this week.
You didn't have drinks after the game?
No.
Okay.
So, thanks, Pope John Paul IV. What are you, seriously?
Pope John.
Or Pope Leo, as he is now.
Oh, why would Isn't Pope John Paul IV dead?
He probably is. And you sounded like him last two days.
Out of the coffin.
Seriously, he was like... he's trying to sledge me, but he couldn't get the words out of his mouth. It was so
bad.
funny.
That was actually pretty bad yesterday. I think that went on 3AW. I think that went on Melbourne, my commentary yesterday. I'm not sure what happened.
No, I know. There's something even funny that happened, but we'll get to it when we do the game. Carl Langdon. We're sitting in the 6PR box. We'll do it later.
Okay.
It was genuinely funny.
You can do it now. Just do it now.
Well, we're sitting there. We look at the monitor up on the screen.
So we're calling for 6PR, radio.
Yes, radio. And suddenly we see this shot of Carl Langdon, who's sitting there with his 6PR jacket, and he's covering up his Eagles jacket because he didn't want to make sure he had the right sort of logos on.
So we don't have any sound of the TV broadcast. So we look at the TV broadcast, and our radio box is on there specifically, Carl. But we have no idea
what they're talking about.
Yeah, so then that's what happened.
So Seb, who's at the back of the box, I said, mate, what was that about? And as it turns out, I thought it was something to do with it was a fiery encounter or something. Anyway, that spotted him. But Seb said it's because Carl's lovely daughter, Em, is currently dating Ryan Marrick. And I think, was it BT? I don't know who said it.
I don't know where they're getting that material.
But they said, this Carl Langdon, he's the future father-in-law of Ryan Marrick.
So as soon as we heard that on radio, we then started calling Ryan Marrick Ryan Langdon.
Son-in-law.
Calling him the hyphen, Ryan Marrick Langdon. He actually looks like your son, not son-in-law. Carl's cracking the shit.
He wasn't happy. Because he knows he's got to pay for a wedding. And he only had one child, obviously. He's his nearest and dearest. But if he had 2 or 3 kids, he would have been spewing.
Daughter pays, though, don't they? Like daughter's parents pay.
No, they don't. That's all changed, brother. It's 50-50.
Daughter's pay.
Tell you what, if my girls, I was going to say my girls marry your boys, it'll be about a big age difference.
A couple of cougars going about it. Jesus. But they're 24 years older than my kids.
Yeah, I forgot that. But I'm just, don't try and swing it onto the parents of the bride. That's all changed.
Bringing together 2 WA royalty families already in the Scoville.
Skeeter and Scully. Officially a family.
You idiot. You absolute idiot. Don't worry. It'll be, at least if it was my sons, it'll be in 20 years' time. Mate, you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble. I've got one of your lovely daughter's partners in my phone as first name, Reddings. I've already given him the last name.
So let me just quick. So you're 35, is that right?
36.
36.
You're
I'm 55. So my girls are 24. They'll have kids in 5 or 6 years. That's probably around 60, early 60s, late 50s probably. You, when the boys are 24, how old will you be?
I don't.
You'll be 60.
Yeah.
60. Okay. And that, you know what? Boys have their kids. Like, you'll be a grandfather at 87, I reckon.
So what's the point here?
Everything will be very funny. I'll be dead, but it doesn't matter.
Clive Costa Skeeter, who's underground, 6 feet
Gone.
under. Sucked in, Scully. We've lost the plot today. We've completely lost it. It is a public holiday, so you know what?
Everyone's sleeping in, as your mate Dan Constantine is
Just rang down. He's in bed. 9:30.
9:30.
He's in bed.
He's got kids, hasn't he?
Far out.
A life?
Not much, by the sounds of it.
We've got footy to do, haven't we?
Before we get into the games, if you are down south this weekend, Frothies and FootyCast and friends, that's right, this Saturday down at Shelter Brewing Co. Busselton, AFL is coming to the southwest. So we thought we'd throw a bit of a party down there. It won't be much of a party. 5 p.m, all the crew from BackChat will be there. All the crew from the Shelter FootyCast will be there. Skeeter's mum will be driving him, dropping him off, picking him up.
You might be staying with me because how far is it from Dunsborough to Busselton?
30-minute drive. We've been over
Yeah, but I
this.
don't want to make her drive.
Tell her to come for lunch. You idiot.
Is it lunch or dinner?
Dinner.
I'll work it out. Because I'm going to go. You know, I'm going for lunch, don't you? I'm going to go sit by myself at the Dunsborough Tavern and have a punt.
So if you want to see Skeeter with pockets full of tickets,
Losing tickets,
and a couple of beers, this is a free event, right? But you just got to let us know you're coming. So you go on to either the Shelter Instagram, Shelter Brewing Co., or go to Shelter FootyCast on Instagram. There's a link in the bio. Click there and just put your name in and tell us you're coming. That is this Saturday, of course, before the big game on the Sunday, Kangaroos West Coast.
And if you get there, Scully and I will let you buy us a beer and we'll we'll try and get about 5 of those into us and then go home.
You're in absolutely ripping form today, Skater. It's good to see you. I can't wait to bring you down to the rest of our level when we go over the export stout, why the footy is better with stout, because you have been, shreds have been ripped off you, which I think maybe gone too far, but we'll have...
So is it worse than being at home on Saturday night?
Probably not. Shreds. Might start calling you Shreds Reading. That's actually a ripping name. All right, Skate, let's get into footy. Fremantle 75, defeated Gold Coast 64 at People First Stadium Saturday. I said this on radio yesterday to Lee Spur, who didn't agree with me. I don't know what's happening with him and Freo.
Negative Nancy.
That has got to be one of the best wins Freo has had in the last 3 or 4 years. Like, that was... I watched every minute of this game. That was unreal. They played exceptional footy, consistent footy, defensive, hard footy, and they bloody won against Gold Coast at Gold Coast. That's one of the best wins they've had in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I can't recall 3 weeks ago, let alone 3 years ago, but it is. It's been their best win this year, better than the win over the Giants. I thought the Giants were very poor on that day, and you always take the opposition into account. But yeah, I agree. Given where the Gold Coast sit on the table, how difficult it is to win up there. I mean, not too many sides will beat the Suns up at People First Stadium, and they did it with a really good start to the match, 30 tackles in the first quarter, the intensity. It just shows you it's about that intensity around the footy, and sometimes if your skills or the execution isn't there, but if you have that ability to put pressure on your opposition, that's what they did, then the results will come. And look, I was doing the game on radio and I thought, this is good. From a Fremantle perspective, they've kicked clear early. I was waiting for the rain to come. I said, if the rain can come pretty soon, this will make life really tough. And it did come, and they were challenged in the second half and in the last quarter. They led by 20. And David Mundy said to me, are they home? I said, no, because you just knew that the Suns would rally at some point. And I tell you what, the last, as I said on radio, the last 4 or 5 minutes, if you're listening to a song on the radio, 4 or 5 minutes goes quickly. If you're a Dockers fan in that circumstance, it was a long, hard slog, but they got there.
I was watching it with Sam Butler at a bowls club, having a few shelters, and I was yelling at the screen while watching on. I think Monday morning review, they'll be going over their kill the game mode. They did everything to let Gold Coast back in that game in the last 5 minutes. They were keeping the ball in. They were handballing through. Luke Jackson or someone kicked the ball into the middle of the ground.
At the last minute and a half. Now, it came off because Amos kicks the goal and Bolton lays a really good tackle. But I think you made this point as well. It's a pretty good one. It's a lot easier and a lot more fun learning from those mistakes when you win than the other way.
Hardest lessons learned are when you do those things. Gold Coast kick a goal, you lose a game.
You should have won.
You actually learn quicker when it happens like that because they've won now and it's like, it's all good. Well, it's not all good because it happened in a final day.
But you'd rather that circumstance for obvious reasons. And there were so many good contributors. And Luke Jackson in the ruck, outstanding, doing what he does. And it brings into question again the Sean Darcy experiment. But it's, the Fife sub decision that worked. So you have to say Justin Longmuir's copped a lot of flack, but certainly the Fife sub setup worked pretty well on the day. There was no early injury, and it worked out well given the conditions. But selection wise, he has to get a tick.
So over the last 10 games, Freo are 7-3, I believe. They've got the second best record in the last 10 games. Only second to Collingwood. Collingwood's the only other side in those sort of areas. So they're in extreme amounts of form. We've put a few requests out to Instagram, so if you are following us on Shelter FootyCast on Insta, get involved with the show. Nick Curry says Bolton X Factor the difference. Last year we would have lost that. I agree with both those statements. Yeah. I reckon last year they could have lost that. Shea Bolton in the last 6 weeks, he's either found his groove or they've put him in a position for him to succeed. He's playing a lot more midfield minutes, a lot more centre bounces, but he looks better forward of the footy as well. Yeah, 20 disposals, 3 goals, but I would say the best thing he did all day was that chase and tackle right at the end of the game. He doesn't do that, and Gold Coast have got a chance to go up the other end and score. Sarong and Brayshaw were good with 30 and 27. Carl Warner was a man who got subbed, I think, with hammy awareness, but I agree. The Fife experiment, he had 7 touches in the last quarter, and especially early, like he was getting clearances, that game was as perfect as it could have been for Fife. Like, to come on, at 3/4 time, if someone gets injured halfway through the first there, are you nursing him through?
It's a different look, isn't it? And you and I both agree that ideally he'll be the sub moving forward for the short term, but that the only caveat with that is if there is an early injury, you hope that he's obviously got the volume in his legs to be okay with that. I'm going to point out one player. I don't even know what his numbers were, but just to the eye and calling the game, I thought Corey Wagner was really good. And he's a player that hasn't really with me, it was he's a solid player. I thought he was outstanding on Saturday. I thought he was very important to their win.
Well, he's the role player that you need Brayshaw and Sarong and Jackson and Shea Bolton, but then you need types like Wagner to just play a role, and when they're required to tackle or when they're required to pick up a clean ground ball.
Kicked a goal.
Yeah.
He
be
was
clean.
Yeah, he was terrific. So, those types of players, and often, as you know, Sco, it's not necessarily your top half a dozen or 10 players. It's the players in that so-called bottom 6 or 8 that if they are playing their role and doing the job that he was doing, I'm not suggesting he's on the fringe, but he's not a high-profile player, that gets you a long way in the season.
I like Banfield back. We haven't seen him back, but I like him.
He did that as a sub here, remember last week?
I like him there. Dudley kicks a couple of goals. Switkowski kicks. It was pretty much a...
Dudley?
Sorry.
Dudley didn't play, but he's out for personal reasons, but he'll come back.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I just thought it was a team performance across the board. Switkowski kicked one, Amos kicked. Everyone sort of contributed. Do you know what I mean? So,
and initially they were bowling the ball, I thought, inside 50 with which played into the hands of Sam Collins and co. But the Suns, to be totally honest, they made a lot of blunders as well in defence, turning the ball over, missed targets in defence, and Damien Hardwick was clearly fuming over that element of it. But you know what? You look at the Dockers and what they've done, the teams they've beaten, including Adelaide, who are box office now.
Yes.
You see what they did against the Suns. The Giants could well be playing finals. They're in the mix for it. Yeah, there's some really important wins. I will go back to that game against St Kilda where the world collapsed for every Docker supporter and they thought this is the end of everything. I think the response to that when they were beaten by Collingwood, but with the good metrics next to it with inside 50s, etc., I think that period may well be a defining sort of week and a bit in the Dockers season, which is translating hopefully from now into a really good run.
A couple of players I want to lastly speak about. Patrick Voss, I think he's important, not because of his quality necessary, but
energy.
He's like attitude. I think criticism of Freo has been like, not an enforcer, because
No,
that's out of the game, but like who's a bit of a
No, you're right.
white line fever, sort of just a bit of a rough 'em up sort of guy. Luke Ryan's sort of that guy.
But he can't bend his back, Lucky.
Patrick Voss he's the guy.
Yeah, and he loves it.
Yeah. I like a bit of bumping and carry on, and as long as it doesn't spread out to the other players. If you just let him
Buzz around, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like he's a bit of a buzzer, right? I like you. 3 goals, and a couple of them are really important at really important times. And Sean Darcy, like we haven't really spoken about him. You got to, people have been critical of him playing. He played 50% game time, right?
It's 3 touches.
Yep, I know, but he played 50% game time. So not that you double everything that he does, but the reason he played 50% is because he's coming back from injury. So they knew going into this game he was playing 50% game time.
And they knew that Witts and Moyle with a double pronged, if you just got Jackson there, that makes life pretty tough.
Darcy had 30 hit-outs and 50%. I know he had 3 touches, but he had 5 tackles.
Jackson had 21. I think they look better. And if you did the numbers on Saturday, we did them, the comparisons of Darcy inside the centre square as opposed to Jackson. The result was better, obviously, when Jackson was there.
Yes, but he's getting a rest.
No, I agree. I'm not saying don't play him.
If Darcy's not there, Jackson, by the end of the last quarter, is cooked. And he has 27 disposals, 21 hit-outs, 7 tackles. I know that Sean Darcy's contribution isn't that. It's the opposite of that. But what it does for Jackson is it gives him a rest. And if they can play him like they just did, I think that is better than Jackson by himself.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, if Darcy goes down, the Voss factor comes back into it. But you're right, and they haven't had much body of work together. So I think Justin Lumley is just trying to find out the right balance, as it was on the weekend. I'm sure that Jackson started in the ruck, first bounce, and then I think it happened here at Optus as well a couple of weeks ago. So that might be the template going forward. And yeah, I think it might be that Jackson has that 60 to 70% time playing as the main man. Irrespective, the talk will continue up until the end of the season. Clubs looking for a ruckman who has quality but has some injury history, that Sean Darcy will be spoken about his future. And of course Luke Jackson already is.
Surely we go 6-3 the next 9 games, Chris asks on Instagram. So
don't do that,
next
Chris.
9.
Don't do that, Chris.
Next 9, North Melbourne, but it's in Perth. It's an away game, but it's at Optus. You'd win that, wouldn't you?
Well, then the next 3 at home,
give me
you should
the
be winning.
fingers of what they win. North, Essendon,
And St Kilda.
St Kilda,
Yep.
Sydney,
Away, but
Sydney,
very winnable.
it's lost by 100 at home.
Yeah.
Hawthorn at home,
Put a loss down for that just for what it's worth. I mean, you can't win them all.
Collingwood at the G or
Lose.
somewhere. Eagles,
Win.
Carlton.
Carlton's away.
Who cares?
No.
It's at home.
Yeah, that's a
And
good run.
Port away.
Has he already ticked off those wins, has he?
I'd have you for 7-2 in the next 9.
Yeah,
I reckon they lose Hawthorn and Collingwood. They're not losing to Carlton or Port or St Kilda.
well, you say that, but you
couldn't
also,
lose to St Kilda.
You told me Hawthorn were going on a run to win 5 in a row, and they've lost 2 in a row.
Yeah, okay.
So, but the run looks good, and suddenly the Dockers haters and Justin Longmuir haters, unfortunately for them, have been shut up. And you and I are very happy about it because it gives us something positive to talk about, which we haven't really had even the back end of last year when they collapsed the Dockers. We want a competitive side. The Eagles are emerging or rebuilding, and the Dockers, I think, are showing us what we were hoping for.
And did you tip him?
On the weekend?
Yep.
No.
Neither did I. Geelong. What?
I
got 3. I got 3 tips right. Well, how many did you get?
I know, because there's not 9 games, were there?
Jaden isn't aware of this. Skeet's leading the West Australian tipping competition. How many did you get? Yeah, he is. He's on top.
Oh, on top.
Seriously. I don't know what that says more about. Yeah, Jaden's pissing himself laughing. Say more about you or the rest of the.
How many
competition?
matches were there? 7?
Yes. 5 from 7.
So stick that up your jumper.
How did I get 3?
Because you're a numpty.
You are sizzling.
So you must be paying more money to people that.
I'm just trying to figure. I'm just doing the calculations. Geelong 116 defeated West Coast 73. Optus Stadium last night. Muffy on Instagram says it quite well. Better than getting kicked in the dick, but still turned the TV off 3 times. Says Muffy. It was a bit frustrating, probably for West Coast fans, because at stages it looked like West Coast could potentially challenge Geelong, and Noah Long has a shot at goal to take them level.
Yeah.
Misses. Geelong kick the next 4 and game's over.
Yeah. Oh, look, poor start from the Eagles. They were completely out-hunted around the footy, and Bailey Smith just owned the ball, and just, even though his disposal at times not as good as it could be, they dominated the first quarter, thought it could be blowout time here, but second and third terms, I think the Eagles probably shaded Geelong, if not sort of held them at bay comfortably, and they got some bounce off half-back and some turnover goals from half-back. So, yeah, I think there was still some more positive signs, despite, I think it was 7-2 in the last quarter. Jeremy Cameron got off the leash late, kicked 5, and Jimby, who had done a really good job, looks at the scoreboard and goes, geez, it doesn't look great. But there was definitely some positive signs. I thought Elijah Hewitt showed that he's got some real spunk about him, and Harley Reid played one of his better games for the year. So I thought there was some genuinely good signs from the Eagles.
For what it's worth, Jeremy Cameron said on TV that he felt like Ruben Jimby owned the day and beat him.
You can say that when you kick 5 goals, doesn't it?
He kicked the last 4 of the games. I probably goes close to winning the Coleman with that performance. Like, if you, as you know, I know it's got a long time ago, but instead of having 1, 5, big difference when you're talking Coleman's. But Ruben Jimby was good for most of the game, but West Coast, the entire team fell away late in that 15 minutes. Couldn't keep up with them. I thought they got it all wrong with Bailey Smith to start the game. He had 15 touches in the first quarter and a goal. Then he had 23 at half time. Brady Hoff then got sent to him, and he ended up with 38 and a goal. But I just don't know why coaches don't put someone on the best player. You can't tell me that it hasn't had an impact on the game. He was just running around doing as he pleased in the first quarter, first half. Brady Hoff then nullified him in the second half. So, I'll never understand why teams don't do that. They think they're too good to tag or something like that. Well, West Coast is certainly not too good to do that. Geelong took 33 more uncontested marks and 16 more inside 50s and controlled the game late, but it was a competitive effort from West Coast. I agree with you. Oscar Allen, that's the best he's looked all year.
Yep, I forgot to mention him. And not that, and I think you even mentioned this, not that, it's Jake Waterman's absence. He knew that he couldn't just be one of the big dogs. He had to be the man on the night to really go to it. And he just looked as if he was getting across the ground better. And Oscar Allen a lot better than I. And we spoke to Don Pike yesterday about his future at the club. Is there an upside to him leaving in terms of draft collateral that you get, or how much does it unhinge the culture of the club if someone who's highly regarded leaves? So Oscar was great last night. Can he stay sound for the rest of the season? Either way, he'll be a talking point until he either signs or says, I want out.
Harley Reid was pretty good as well. Took a good mark. I thought he was looked the fittest he did. They just moved across the ground well. If you're a West Coast fan, that performance last night is pretty much all you'd ask for. As a not a maximum, but as a minimum, if that's what you're getting every week, I reckon you're pretty happy going on the footy. And
a lot better.
Competitive effort. There was numerous times where they were getting standing ovations from the crowd. Pretty small crowd, 42,000 people there. But it's sort of Benosh on Instagram says they stayed in the game. That's all we've been asking for.
Yeah, and basically what Richmond is doing is what Eagles fans want from their side. Now, if you look at, everyone mentions the quality that's out, I think you're going to have to get used to the fact that Elliot Yeo might not play a lot more football. I mean, he might play the next 3 years and make me look stupid, but his body just hasn't been good to him. McGovern, same boat, and that's obviously going to be decided in the next few weeks as to what happens with Gov, and we wish him well. Jake Waterman obviously will return, hopefully long term, but his history's checkered as well. So essentially, the Eagles are going to have to get used to living with what they've got until they go to the draft table, go and get that, or do the deal done, trading out a Harley, trading out an Oscar Allen to try and bring in, a bit like Richmond, bring in some more young kids and accelerate the development. But there's a balance. You can't just have no experience there.
Well, if Oscar Allen's not there and you get pick two's not having the impact Oscar Allen just did on that game.
Of course
just
not.
so you know, both from 4 goals and 5 marks, whatever he had, but leadership as well.
But if you're getting,
you're not getting that.
For argument's sake, whether it's with Harley or if he gets 2 or 3 first rounders, and with Oscar Allen you get 2 first rounders. For instance, if you're getting 5, 6 quality young players, by the same token, just because you're pick 15 or pick 10, Scully, we've seen in history, it doesn't automatically translate. So you have to be so savvy in what you've done. And look, Richmond are going down that path. I reckon they're a tick at the moment on that basis, but it doesn't mean it's going to work.
They threw enough darts at the dartboard. They had like 17 picks in the first 3 rounds.
Which is good, though. And they knew where they were heading. And Adam Uzo, I think, deserves a big tick for what he's done.
All right, I'm going to test you out, Jaden. Let's see if you've got it in you, mate. We're about to get into Is the Footy Better with Shelter? Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shelter FootyCast. All right, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we asked you over the last couple of weeks, is the footy better with Shelter? Specifically, is the footy better with the Shelter Export Stout? And you have answered. Ladies and gentlemen, these came in thick and fast over the weekend, and I love it. Thanks for going and buying cartons of the Export Stout. I hope they were nice. I hope you enjoyed the 20% discount I gave you from my pocket. That's going to continue, Skeeter, by the way, because after this we're doing lager. Their best beer.
Lager's my sort of go-to, if I'm to be honest.
I'm going to get your lips wrapped around that at some point, and we'll get a review from you on the lager, because you sort of not sure how you sort of received the stout. You're a bit twitchy.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's an acquired taste, I think.
So, Skeet, you are the judge and juror here. So, even though most of these are sledging you, just remember, Skeet will be
why are they sledging me? What have I done wrong?
I don't know.
Why not be a lover, not a fighter?
So you are awarding those, Skeet, over $800 worth in value for this. If you want to get involved for the lager, think about this. You get one night's accommodation at the Hilton in Busselton, which is where we'll be staying, Skeeter, this Saturday for our event. 1 bottle of Crodaro wine, beautiful wine from the southwest. 2 bars of the Otto's chocolate. Otto's chocolate is the new chocolate facility down there in Busselton. Dinner and beer at Shelter Brewing on for the night for 2 people. Burgers and beers at Golf Par 3 for 2 people, and a carton of Shelter of your choice. You're sure that you're picking an Export Stout if you win it. All right, our entrance, Skeeter. You basically just award this to whoever you like. I personally would say the best sledges, but we'll see. This is from Jeremy. As an Eagles supporter for the last few years, they've tested my ability to sit through a full game, especially with the constant smashings. But a Shelter Stout or 10, drink responsibly, helps numb the pain while warming the cockles at the same time. Footy and a stout, a perfect winter pairing from Jeremy.
I like that. You know what the cockles reference is?
No.
Warm the cockles of your heart. So it's a saying, yeah.
Okay.
Just,
Cochlear? Isn't that a cochlear implant?
I don't know if it's a cochlear implant.
The cochlear's in the ear, Jaden tells me.
Yeah, it's warm the cockles of your heart. It's a saying. So there you go. Just to help you out there.
Geez, yours must be absolutely on fire. Your cockles. Skeeter's cockles are fucking absolutely sizzling from the weekend. All right, second entry from Jared. Jeremy and Jared. All right, Jared. Hey, boys, how good would it be if Skeeter invited Scully and a few listeners into his man cave to watch the footy and put on some Shelters? Just imagine, we rock up and first thing we see is his TV Week Logie, which he always has on display when expecting company, which is true.
It's true. Yeah.
Then we'd kick back, enjoy some Shelters and watch a cracking game of footy. Then, after the game, Skeeter lets us in on a couple of investments he has going on, and we tune into race 9 at Moody Valley. Depending on how that goes, we may or may not end up at Hippie Club, Scully, Skeeter and Stout. That would definitely make the footy better from Shelter.
I don't mind that. That's Clubhouse leader. How many have we got?
4.
Oh, 4. Okay. Well, that's Clubhouse leader, just for the pure humour associated with it. Okay.
Watching footy with a Shelter Export Stout is like listening to Skeeter's analysis, but actually enjoyable. while he's having another George Costanza-style meltdown about West Coast contested possession differential, you're sipping liquid gold that could make even his most cooked takes bearable. Each gulp of roasty goodness perfectly compliments your mate from Ellenbrook claiming he totally saw that bloodbath coming while forgetting he tipped the Eagles to beat Geelong. The stout's rich complexity mirrors explaining to your missus why you need to watch every game, even when it's North versus Gold Coast. When Freo inevitably chokes again, Shelter Export doesn't judge, just sits there impassively like JL in a post-match presser, ready for another sip and another we have good effort delusion. Footy without Shelter Export Stout is like Skeeter without bumbling anecdotes. Technically possible, but completely pointless. As the great man himself would say, I say that in jest. Love you, Skeeter, from Jared.
Well, no, that's pretty handy. I reckon the way that was written was far too eloquent for either of us to conjure ourselves.
So it's Jeremy, Jared, and Jared right? And Aaron finishes us off with, footy just hits different with a Shelter Stout in hand, especially when the boy, Ruben Jimby, is locking down defence like he's the bouncer at Shelter Brewery or Hippie Club. Why is everyone... He's reading the play like it's a pub menu. He's memorised smooth, sharp, and absolutely starving for intercepts. And that blonde, ludicrous mullet tease giving Dermot vibes from the 80s from Aaron.
Okay, Aaron. There's a couple of beauty. In fact, they're all beauties.
They're actually all very good. Well done, everybody.
Yeah, making the effort. That's outstanding.
You want the man cave, I know.
I think the man cave probably gets it. But I'll tell you what, I loved...
Jared, the third one?
The third one, who just decided to give me a clip and then a bit of a cuddle and a clip and a cuddle.
Well, so they're the final two. What do you want? Jared who wants the man cave experience, or Jared who gave the proper export stout experience?
We're going the man cave.
We're going the man cave. There you go. Very good. Well done, Jared. You know a way to Skeeter's heart, and that is drinking piss and punt at Hippie Club.
Hippie Club, I've been twice in 3 years.
And I was there both times. All right, there we go. That means the Shelter is better with an export stout. Thanks to Jared. We will get in touch with you, mate. Well done. Thanks everyone to entering.
He doesn't mean you're coming to my house, though.
We're moving on to lagers next, right? So if export stout wasn't your thing, get on to shelterbrewing.com.au, and live right now is the discount, courtesy of me, out of my pocket, 20% off lagers. That is right. Lager 20 is the discount, Lager 20. Use that at checkout. Get a box, get a 4-pack, get a 6-pack. I don't know how they sell them. Get some beers into you for the weekend and tell us, is the footy better with a lager? I think you guys get the idea of the competition now. We're going to run through a few beers as we go, but well done to Jared for the win. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shelter FootyCast. All right, Brisbane defeated Essendon 90-72 at the Gabba Thursday night. We're Monday. We're almost up to next week already, Skeet. This was a pretty good game. Essendon challenged Brisbane the entire way. Probably came down to the last 5 minutes, and their class, just got on top of them a little bit, Skeet.
Yeah, 41 touches. Hugh McCluggage probably takes home 3 Brownlow votes. I really like the work of Will Setterfield in the second half. They were in trouble at half time, no question about that. I think they were blown off the park in the first term, down by 32, but I thought they showed a fair bit of resolve, and maybe it's a bit about the way Brisbane goes about it as well. After half time, the Lions kicked 6 goals, Bombers 7, so they're outscored in the second half. But you're right, they probably just had that quality there. Guys like Nick Martin, able to hit the scoreboard. Nat Caddy played a very good game. His athleticism has always been there, and hopefully he starts to put that together more continuously. Yeah, it was a workmanlike victory by the Lions, one that still leaves a couple of question marks as to the level that they're at, but by the same token, they're still winning.
They're just going at the moment, aren't they, Brisbane? They're sort of getting wins and they're beating sides and they're drawing with North Melbourne and kind of doing their thing. I think you've summed it up pretty well. I really like Nick Martin's game. They've finally figured out they're playing him like as a forward pocket, and resting forward is dumb, and play him on ball and get him the footy in his hands. I think he kicked like 2 really, really clutch goals, 29 touches he had. He was very good. Pretty good mix from Brisbane across the board. But, I think Nate Caddy is the one you mentioned, the goal over his head, the missed goal from 1 metre out. He's a bit erratic still, but you can see what they've got in him. Essendon, more sort of questions come out of this for Essendon than Brisbane. It's sort of like, where are they at? Can they play finals?
No, they can't play finals, right, Will, because they're not able to beat the better sides. But by the same token, I thought that was a pretty gallant performance, given their injury list, given their lack of tours. I think Brad Scott would not walk away from that match thinking, where are we at as a club? I thought they showed a fair bit of spine, and if you're an Essendon supporter, that in defeat was one of your better performances for the season.
Collingwood 107 defeat Hawthorn 56 MCG Friday night. I don't have the audio. But please remind me what I said about Hawthorn.
I'm not sure the exact quote, but it was along the lines of, is it guarantee?
Yeah.
I guarantee you that Hawthorn will beat Collingwood.
Certainty.
So as I was just watching the game Friday night, I was just enjoying the Collingwood performance. And let's be honest, Hawthorn's fallen into a bit of a hole in the last month. And maybe
I was trying to wish them into some form or something.
Tell you what, the mouth guard's going to come out though at training this week.
Well, why did they not come out last week? They had 36 tackles. This week they had 38. How do they respond like that, Skeeter?
No, it's a good question. Now, the Hawks' pressure against Brisbane was down at 159. Against the Magpies, it was 155. Now, I'm not sure what metrics you regard in footy, but that seems to be one that people are looking at now. If you're around the 200, you're winning a lot of games and pretty competitive. So 159, 155 isn't.
I just remembered 8:33 p.m. I get a photo on my phone. It's a bit artistic actually. It's like looking through a glass of bourbon into the TV. Skeeter. Hawthorn certainties, right, with a couple of emojis. Bourbon tasting sweet. Knowing you look stupid. Love you. Fucking hell.
Yeah, we all have moments. Most of yours goes on social media.
Well, yeah, correct.
Why just do it as a personal text?
My throat's cooked. I'm just talking shit every day. So, look, I was just trying to, will Hawthorn into it. I assumed they would respond. They did the opposite.
No, it's and you know what? I half expected them to really push Collingwood. They were putrid though, and this is a bit of a crisis for them. But the upside for them is that they are in the 8. They're playing, I think, average footy, but their run is still tough. They've got the Bulldogs this week, and they clearly haven't been able to rediscover the form that we saw at the back end of last year.
Well, this is why this 4-week block was going to be big for them, because didn't they play Brisbane last week?
Yes, beaten at the MCG.
So they got smashed by them. They've just played Collingwood, who... we'll get into them in just a bit. But they're very, very good, Collingwood.
Yeah, my check kicking for Jamie Elliott continues an amazing season, really. He's you talk about Jeremy Cameron with the Coleman medal. Well, he may well win it, but...
I'm quite sure that I had Collingwood missing the 8 this year. I'm pretty sure I did.
I think most of us had the question mark over the age and about whether... And after round 1, I think we're all convinced we were right that they were looking old and slow. How good have they been since that point? It's just been extraordinary, and now they're able to get to a stage where they can manage a bit of their list, and they've still got the quality. I mean, Sidebottom, 27 and 2 goals, playing, again, the best footy of his career almost, and they're such a complete side at the moment. That doesn't mean they're going to just cruise through like, for instance, the Bombers back in 20 or 25 years ago when they didn't look like losing the grand final, but this is a team that's clearly the best side in it at the moment.
Have you spoken about Jamie Elliott yet?
I just mentioned that Jamie Elliott, 5 goals, career best form, and Coleman, man, wouldn't it be great to see a small forward like him win it?
I think he's kicked 5 goals 3 times this year. So their forward line is always even in their good years has been a strange one. Like you look at their forward line, like Myercheck has been a very good player for.
Underrated?
Underrated somehow, but he just kicks goals every game he plays. Like he's just an absolute weapon. They've got Tim Membry, a reject from St Kilda, basically, playing a role for them. Jamie Elliott sort of plays like a tall. Like when you play on him, he actually leads and moves like a tall, but he's small, so he's a really hard matchup. That's why I think he kicks the goals he does, because do you go with someone that's tall because he can jump and he can run and he can leap, or and sometimes if you do that, he's too quick for them. Okay, so go someone smaller on him and he jumps too high for them. So, yeah, I think he's having a ripping season.
Just going back to Elliott, he was the 5th highest rated player in the game over the past 6 rounds. So that shows you hit the consistency that Jamie Elliott has brought to the table. And look, he's 5 goals, had 10 score involvements, by the way.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Makes him the first 30-year-old Magpie in 18 years to reach those highs since Anthony Rocker back in 2007. So he's having just a beautiful period of his career. And I think he just reached his milestone match up at the Gabba, I think, against Brisbane.
Are they playing too good a footy too early?
That's a really good question. And that can happen. But I suspect in the next month and a half they will, about the training loads they put in, they might have a bit of a dip, but I don't think they're playing too good too early.
The problem is, though, they're that well coached and that well structured that it doesn't, they'll just continue to do it. They're not doing it out of flair. No.
Well, we saw that with the win over Fremantle with the change of personnel. Ned Long's come into that mix as well and has been outstanding. So, Magpies flying, Hawks. They get another tough assignment Thursday against the Bulldogs, and the Hollywood Hawks are some people are taking great pleasure in watching them have a little blip.
It sounds like you're one of them.
No, not really. I like a bit of the theatre and whatnot. But if you're going to do that, you've got to be prepared to cop a slap on the way through if you don't.
We're going to whip through these games and get you off to the waffle skater. GWS defeat Richmond 80-77. Big comeback, good win, but Richmond should have won this. So they erratic in front of goal. It should have been over at 3/4 time. But it wasn't. Cal Ward, we know, his speech he did to the players, looked like he really revved them up and got them going, and they kicked 5-0 in the last to steal victory. All the regular players with GWS play well. Lockie Ash was untouched for 36 disposals and 800 metres gained across the board. But I think this is one that they just got away with. Richmond played better footy for most of this game.
Yeah, and I think Ash was a player watching the last half. He was the bloke that gave them some real bounce off half back, didn't he? And 10-17, Tigers would have had that game iced by 3/4 time if they'd been accurate. But they're a young side, and clearly they ran out of legs in the last quarter. The Giants, big win for them. Not great for Fremantle, obviously, given that the 8 is pretty tight down at that part of the table, but not convincing from the Giants. And they're a bit of a tough side to read as well. They beat Carlton the week before, which probably is being put into perspective now that Carlton's not much chop. But the Giants got the job done. I guess Adam Kingsley, the most relieved bloke in New South Wales on Saturday night.
Hasn't been too much chat about why Cal Ward was so upset, but he decided to go for one more year. His family is living in Melbourne. He's stayed away from his family in order to chase a premiership. That's what he's doing. So that's what the upset. So he's gone home to Melbourne. It's probably going to be relieving to him in the end. Like, you're trying to push your body to the nth degree, get the last bit out of you, and now it's taken out of his hands. Like, I know you want to be playing, but if it's an ACL, you can't push through that. Yeah. It's not a hamstring you're trying to come back from. Once you're done, you're done.
Shades of Chris Judd when he did his knee last involvement in the game at the MCG, and I think he just raised his hand, and everyone knew, standing ovation, that they'd seen the last of Juddy playing AFL.
Adelaide 131 defeated Sydney 41 at the SCG. This was on in the background. This is why you had so much enjoyment. You were too busy drinking, not enough bloody watching. Wayne Milera, I was looking for this. I should have known that our boy Isaac would have had that. What are you doing to me, Jaden? Who's stuffing around with this? What just happened? You just delete things? What is just going on? Wayne Milera, after the game, said you could sort of feel it as a group. They were sort of a bit of a rabble, just hearing them on the ground. So if that's offensive to anyone at Sydney, I would say go and pack it up.
Yeah.
Go pack it up right now.
We discussed that at the top of the show. It's not, I think, clearly, as more so for Matthew Nicks, you don't want your players doing that, obviously. You're not going to say that encourage them to be potting opposition sides, but yeah, he stated a fact, to be totally honest with you. Crows are flying, box office, they are attacking weapons. What do they kick? 131 points, 21 goals, 5. And I know it was their worst defeat at the SCG for a long time.
1998.
Oh, really? So Ron Barassi, back in the early 90s, when he was coach, Gary Buccanara had a tough time as well. They were getting absolutely slaughtered, the Swans. That is as close to what we saw on the weekend, and they have so many players out of form, so little confidence. And we sat and we watched it and had a couple of remarks where they looked...
A rabble. A rabble is a perfect way to explain it.
We described it that they just, looked like there was a bit of infighting. They just did not have any communication, and a team that's sorely out of confidence, and I reckon they've gone to the well so many times, and unfortunately Coxie's first year is going to be one of disappointment.
Yeah, we thought this might happen, and it has. So I don't see any way coming back from this from Sydney, and I'm sure off the back of that comment they'll go and make finals or something. St Kilda 91 defeated Melbourne 63 at Alice Springs. Perfect Sunday arvo.
It was perfect, wasn't it? Even though you said it'd be slippery and wet and horrible.
Well, I'm sorry I don't have.
No, you think of Darwin in like Darwin in the night game where it's all muggy and a bit humid. No, this was a beautiful day.
I'm very sorry I don't know what the weather is in Alice Springs. I'm sorry I'm not travelling around the country like you used to, big Hollywood superstar that knows what it's like everywhere. Or that their favourite app on their phone is the weather app. I'm sorry about that.
Callum Wilkie had 31 disposals and was outstanding for the Saints in defence. Didn't see much of this game. I'm not sure, what was that? What time? This is yesterday afternoon, wasn't it? So it wasn't a game that really attracted me, to be totally honest. Melbourne had a good month, but they struggled, and the Saints were terrific. They jumped the Demons kicked 14-7. Melbourne against 7-21.
It's just basically crap v crap, this game. I had it on in the background and couldn't even watch it. I was playing board games with the kids, so let's leave it where it is. Go Saints. Hey, Isaac, good boy. Isaac's a big Saints man.
And by the way, Keeler, young man, kicked 3 goals. He can play.
Saw that.
Yeah.
You like him? What sort of player is he?
He's a forward. Don't try and throw him out of the bus. I've got to get going. Hurry up. You idiot.
I've seen a minute of the game. You've seen his kid kick 3 goals.
He's a player. I guarantee he's a player. I've seen him before. I didn't see him.
He's a player. He can play. What do you like about him, Skeet? Oh, he's goal kicker.
He's a good forward. Shut up, Joe.
Carlton, North, Melbourne, Port and the Western Bulldogs had the bye. They'll all return for that. We'll scope and mark and stick around for some comments right now on the Shelter FootyCast. Okay, just a couple of comments and questions to finish us off, boys. Love you getting involved with the show. If you do want to get involved, put a comment on the YouTube. Send us an email at footycast@backchatstudios.com.au or hit us up on social, Shelter FootyCast on Instagram. Just a couple of these to get through, Skeeter. Hi, gents. It's time the AFLPA and clubs challenge the AFL and tribunal's definition of reasonable player. Have I done this? The lawyers, administrators and ex-players don't reflect the current playing group or game. Either all the players are surveyed on what they would do in a number of base scenarios to set the current standard of reasonable, or tribunal membership is only open to those less than 3 to 5 years out of the game, and get them a case or two of Shelter Stout to help them make better footy decisions, from Drew on email.
Oh, look, I know there's a bit of tongue-in-cheek there, but I think the premise of getting very recently retired players onto a judiciary of sorts has merit, because the game is changing pretty regularly. And it's, for those playing 20 years ago,
yes,
it's almost unrecognisable in terms of what you can do as a player and be suspended now as opposed to even 5 years ago.
I like the suggestion of having players that aren't out of the game very long.
That's what I said, yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't...
Just recently retired players. I think it's a really good point.
I was agreeing with you then. Schofield, Skeeter, love your work bigging up WA and generally talking about real footy issues. A couple of point raisers here for me. Number one, with it being WA Day today, how about a derby?
As in?
Like, how about putting a derby around?
Oh, you mean like an AFL derby?
Yeah.
Yeah, well...
Like a Monday derby?
Yeah, possible. To be fair, I think that they get... The waffle derbies are the ones that traditionally people go to.
Well, what about last night's game being a derby, like Sunday night?
Yeah.
You get a big crowd, because it's a pretty crap crowd.
Well, the reason I think we're a crap crowd is because it's a long weekend, I think, in part. And the Eagles are no good.
Yeah.
No, that's part of it.
No, you're right.
So, yeah, I'm not sure about the derby on... I understand the premise, and I didn't mind the jumpers, actually. I thought they were okay.
A bit Richmond for me.
They were a bit Richmond, but, they'll probably make a couple of dollars out of it.
Back to North, this is number 2. Back to North versus Brisbane. The reigning premiers got sent travelling to Tasmania, got a draw. Why don't Collingwood get sent there? Is it to do with parole issues and not being able to protect certain players? It would be wonderful to see a sporting organisation act in the best interests of all patrons. That's from Elliot via email.
I am seeing some talk now about the run home that Collingwood has. I think 7 of the last 9 are at the MCG. Mind you, they have travelled at the start of the season. They've been to Brisbane, they've been to Perth. So and you know what? They play well away from Melbourne. So that's not an issue for them. Geelong's got a very soft draw as well back half of the season. So keep your eye on Geelong. Even though I don't think they can win the flag, I think they can finish top 4, which then opens the window for all possibilities.
They did some stuff, Geelong. I should have spoken about this in the game part, but they did some stuff, some offside winger and offside half forward and offside half back. So the fat side of the ground stuff I've never seen before. And speaking to someone working closely at West Coast after the game in the car park last night, just said that it's different to any other club. They basically play this system, Geelong, where players... they're not really in positions. They're just sort of in a structure and anyone can play them at any given time. So sometimes players are spitting forward out of stoppage and sort of covering them from a forward flank, and they're running in circles and cyclones. I wouldn't be surprised if what they're doing is absolutely industry leading. Like, no one knows what's going on out there with Geelong.
I have no idea. I have no idea what you just said, but I agree with you.
Freo is just whinging. You'll like this. Freo is just whinging about the Eagles wearing black and gold. Freo should be wearing a combination of East Freo and South Freo on a jumper, blue and white with a red V. If done properly, they could make it work. Freo could honour their port history, recognise the famous Fremantle Derby on Foundation Day, Dockers choose to ignore their Freo history. Now they are at Coburn. Very little imagery from Freo in the port. Honour East Freo and South Freo. Let Eagles celebrate WA. They aren't wearing a State of Origin jumper.
I thought when Pav was playing in that era, they did have a white jumper with a red V or something. They did. Yeah, did you play against them?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so I don't know whether that was the Fremantle link they were trying to put in there, but it has happened, not for a while though.
Here we go. Shelter FootyCast. Make sure you get your lagers. Lager 20 at checkout. Shelterbrewing.com.au. You need that to tell us, is the footy better with a Shelter lager? Skate, you're done. You've got a big day ahead of you, mate.
Yeah, see you at the Derby. You're going to see the Socceroos, and we'll catch up Thursday.
Bye.